special session here coming up for you guys. A special session. Oh, shoes aren't included either. Okay? Shoes are not included either. But anyway, why am I in camouflage? Why? Because I feel like it's time to go to war. You guys feel like that? And I'm talking about war and a fight against mediocrity. I'm talking about a war and a fight, against lack, against not having enough. I'm talking about this war and this fight against poverty, this war and this fight against, financial restrictions, personal freedoms, that war and that fight, against financial enslavement and all of the different types of battles that we've got to fight. And I'm not talking about war in a violent sense. I don't condone it, and that's not what I'm talking about. But I can tell you this, is that freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free. And at some point in time, y'all are going to have to fight. At some point in time, you're going to have to draw a line in the sand, and you're going to have to pick a side. And I drew a line in the sand years ago, and I decided that I wanted to be free. And I didn't understand what all of this freedom actually represented. Didn't understand. Until I was able to witness other people being free. And we've got some warriors right now who are at home. And it's my job to recognize those warriors. And I wore my camouflage today to let them know I'm in the fight with them. Not only am I in the fight with them, I'm leading the charge. See, I'm not back there cracking the whip and telling them to go out and do it. I'm out there leading the charge saying, here's how you do it. You've got our other generals out there, Edwin Haynes. Here's how you do it. We've got our diamonds out there. Here is how you do it. They're fighting the fight. And so today at this moment is about armoring up. Yesterday we presented our diamonds with their shield. That shield of protection called LU, loyalty, unity, and edification. Today, I want to salute those, and I want to share with you those who are on their way to becoming diamond. I call it sapphire. See, I remember a long time ago when I went to an event. It was my first event. And I went to that event and I had big goals and I had big dreams. But see, at that time, I had not picked a side. I was kind of like over here, and then I'd come over here. I want to be free over here, but then I was doing all the things that people who were financially enslaved did. I wasn't investing into me. I went to an event and they said, if you want to be on this side of freedom, of the freedom line, you've got to invest in you. And over here, guess what I was doing? I wasn't investing into me. I took every dime that I had and I spent it with someone else. I wasn't reading books. I wasn't listening to tapes. I wasn't associating with positive people. I'd get home every day over here, and after a long, hard day of work, what did I do? After a long, hard day of work, I got that remote control, and I popped that remote control on. Why? Because I felt like because I went to work all day, I deserve to go ahead and watch television and just fry my brain for the rest of the evening. Do I believe there's something wrong with TV? No. Nothing whatsoever wrong with television. And there's nothing wrong if you watch television. But I hadn't picked a side. See, when you pick a side, now you've got other decisions that you've got to make. And I went to that event, And I came from that event from this side, over here. And if you can look, this right here reminds me of being in bondage. I look at this and I'm looking at these lines and it's almost like bars. And on the other side of those bars was freedom. But my boss told me, here's how much of the freedom you can have for working 8 hours. He controlled everything. My boss controlled where I lived, controlled what I drove, controlled how I ate, controlled the quality of food that I put in my body. Couldn't afford organic and all natural foods. Was barely making enough money to pay the bills. But I looked at my boss and I looked at the owners and they had this freedom and I didn't understand. I thought if we worked at the same place, why is it that I can't have freedom but you can have freedom? See, nobody had shared with me a course on economics. Nobody had shared with me this course on choosing your path of freedom economically. And so I thought, hey, I work at this big company. That means I'm going to have freedom. No, didn't mean that. Because even though I was there, my position was never designed around freedom. And there's nothing wrong with the position that I had. And I looked at my job title, and if you go back and research yours and where you actually applied for that job, if you applied, I want you to go find the description in there where it says, here's where you experience freedom. After 5 years of doing it, do you have freedom? 10 years freedom, 20 years, 30, it never had a freedom date. And so I was in this rat race. And here's what I was able to look forward to over here. And I didn't look at it like that. And I don't put it down. I'm just saying that there was a choice that I had to make. And I'm looking at this, and I look back now, I was going to spend 40 years on this side of the freedom line. And these bars just represent restrictions. Want to go on a vacation and stay in a nice 5-star hotel? Nope, you don't make enough. It's not in the pay grade over here. Want to have kids and send them to private school? Nope, it's not in the pay grade over here. Parents get sick, you want to take care of them? Nope, better hope the government has a plan. It's not in your pay grade. It's time for your kids to get a car. Can you put them in the safest car? Or you got to find the cheapest used one that's out there? Cheapest used one, why? It's not in your pay grade. You're on this side of the restriction list. And I thought that was normal. Why? Because all of my other friends who lived on the same side over here, they made it normal. They made it normal to be late on bills. We talked about it all the time. We came up with stories on what to do when the bill collectors call, and I would learn from them what to say and how to shape it so that they don't turn my electricity off. Why? Because this was the survival side of the freedom line. And I thought it was okay. And it was just because I did not know better. And when you know better, you now inherit a responsibility to do better. And I never forget 1990. I told you, it's 30 years celebrating my understanding of freedom. I'm 47, I'll be 48 this month. And I only have understood the concept of freedom for 30 years. Living in America, where people come for freedoms, I didn't even understand it, and I was born here. And I thought freedom came because you're born into a rich family. Freedom came because of this or because of that. I never knew I could earn and fight for my own freedom. I thought I was destined that this is the side that I was born on, and there's no way I can slip through these bars to get on the other side and experience life like the free people that I see. And it bothered me. 1990, September of 1990, I went to an event. I just joined the business. And some of you will know which company I'm talking about, but the name of the event was FED, Free Enterprise Day. And I go to this event, and remember, I'm coming from a position of television watching, radio, playing, whatever it was that I could do to waste all of my time so that I could remain over here with all of my friends who are good people, but this is where I was. So my point of reference when people spoke about freedom, it was foreign. It was like, what are you talking about? My concept when people said freedom was Lincoln freed the slaves way back in the 18th, way back then. That was my thought process. Because I didn't know anything about financial independence. When you grow up around everybody who's poor, poor becomes normal. You don't even know you're poor. You want to be at the top of the poor list. That's all. I never forget setting a goal when I first went to college that Erlene and my dream was I couldn't wait because my goal was to make $30,000 a year. Why? Because I never met anybody who had made that much money before. And I had one friend that they made, I never forget. She told me how much money she was making. She was like a mentor to me and to Erlene. Her name was Gretchen Hunter. It was one of my closest friends' mother, and they had a 2-story house. And I never knew anybody else who had a 2-story house. I was like, what do you guys do up there on the second floor? I didn't even know how you would get up there. Why? The concept of a 2-story house I just didn't understand it. How do you have a 2-story house? I just didn't know. And I never forget she worked for this company, and she told me she's making $30,000 a year. And I said, that's my goal. Why? That's how I get a 2-story house. At least I had the right process. I identified somebody who had what I wanted, and I said, I'm going to go out and do this. $30,000 a year. It was my goal. My whole plan was, I'm going to graduate from college. She'll graduate from college, and we're going to go out and get us a mobile home. We're going to save all of our money. I'll pay off the mobile home, have no expenses, and then we'll build us a 2-story house. Our biggest dream was to have a $100,000 house. We can go back right now, and I can share with you the goals. We set our plans. A $100,000 house is what the goal was. Have $10,000 saved in our bank. I'll never forget those goals. Prosperous birth of a son. Purchase our first BMW. These were some of the goals that we had. Why? I was over here. And there's nothing wrong with over here. There's nothing wrong with you if you're over here. There's only something wrong when you know what's over here and you speak about having what's over here and you know that you can benefit more people who are over here, and then you stay over here and choose to say, this is the hand I've been dealt. This is how I'm going to die, right over here. And I've watched people who've lost their dream and they say, this is where I am. God made me this way. If he wanted me to be rich, he would have made me born into that family, or he'd give me a lottery ticket. And we use all kind of excuses not to go to war so that we can get on this side over here. It's not about the money. What if I had stayed over here? And this is not about me, but how many of you have been impacted, even before you met me, by a video, by some tape or some audio or some experience that you've had because of my fight to get on the other side, and that had not entered your life? Do you see that impact? Wouldn't have happened. I look at all of our leaders over here, they're winners. Cesar talked yesterday about making $1,000 a month. But I wonder, had I not fought, had I not put on my camouflage, put on my armor, and go out there and fight the fight, I wonder, would he still be an engineer right now? I wonder what the people in Mexico, see, if he hadn't been in this business, what would have happened to the people in Mexico that I know of? I can give you story after story after story after story. I can give you thousands of stories of people whose lives are better because of the expansion of their brain, the expansion of their awareness, because he said yes. And he put on his camouflage. And I can take every single diamond that we have and I can look at the ripple effect. Because they chose to say, this is where my start is, but this is not my finish line. And yeah, you have some who are already born on this side. And that's cool too, and there's nothing wrong, and I don't judge them either. But you still have a responsibility to teach other people. You got to learn. Because if you were born on that side, somebody in your family was over here, and it's your responsibility to learn what did they learn to get on that side so that you didn't have to come over here. So that means that no matter who you are, I'm talking to you. And I went to that event not understanding, having this goal one day of a $30,000 income, having a goal of wanting to live in a 2-story house because I thought that meant success. They were the only people. It was the only 2-story house in that entire neighborhood. And I never forget, I implanted it in my mind. And I always wanted to go stay at his house. Why? I wanted to go up on the 2nd floor. You see, we all start somewhere. And those of you right now that I'm celebrating who are called sapphires, here was my experience. I went to that event and they started recognizing people. And there were so many people in that audience and they start talking about freedom and I'm like, what are they talking about? And they start saying things that I didn't understand and saying things that I didn't agree with the speakers who came across. And why? Because the vocabulary that I use came from the people who only experienced this side of the fence. Our way of becoming successful, we use words like overtime. Man, I'm going to put 20 hours of overtime in. Because I only understood getting paid by time. More time I put in, the more money I make. Didn't understand anything about leverage. They didn't understand anything about networking, empowering other people. I got a new vocabulary. And I start watching the people come across the stage. And these people came across the stage. And I saw them crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? You got money. I should be the one crying. I'm over here. And the tears that would run down their face was tears of overcoming. It was the tears because here's where they were. And they did the work. See, nobody gave it to them. Nobody pushed them across this line. See, I can't push you through these lines. I can't pick you up and bring you over here. You have to do the work to say, I no longer want to live between these lines. Over here, look, it's freedom all over here. No restrictions. I do what I want to do. I can go where I want to go. It's limitless over here. Over here, I got to stand in line. Over here, guess what time I wake up? 6 o'clock in the morning. Why? I got to be on the road at 8 o'clock. Over here, I get hungry at 12 o'clock. Why? Because my lunch break is 12 o'clock. I don't eat when I want to eat. I eat when they say it's time to go to lunch. And that became normal. What time do they feed chickens? The same time every day. Why? Chickens aren't free. What time does an eagle eat? Anytime it wants to. The farmer will go out 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever time, with its chicken feed. Here. And they know when it's feeding time. They can smell it. They can smell the feed. They get conditioned. And inside, all of those gastric juices start to flow. Why? They know the same time for the last X number of days or months, the caretaker is coming with my feed and is going to throw my food down for me to eat the crumbs that's left over. That's how I felt. I'm not saying that's how you look at it. I'm telling you how I processed it. This is where I was. And they made it feel normal. My associates and people who were over here with me made it feel normal, and they said, you don't want to go over there. And I said, why? Because there's no guarantee over there. You don't have a guaranteed salary. Over here, they make sure we're going to eat 3 times a day. Over here, you got to go. If you don't kill something, you don't eat. Over here, you're going to have a pension plan, and they're going to make sure that they will send you retirement. Over here, you create your own pension. And around my family, here's how we would choose our cell. We chose our cell based off of a word called benefits. And people would come home and brag about, girl, I just got this job and it's got benefits. Now, they would never describe what the benefits are, but the word was benefits. And I'm bringing you into my world of how I would process things, and it was this conflict going on because I'm like, benefits? And then my mom explained to me, yeah, if you get sick, you got medical. What if I don't get sick, Mom? What if I take care of my own health? They never talked about that. Well, they've got a little pension plan for you, a little 401k. That's a benefit. You get 2 weeks paid vacation. And if you were a good boy or good girl, you got 3 weeks. But I've never seen anybody got a check paid to them to go anywhere on vacation. You don't get a 2-week paid vacation. They take the salary before you get the job, and they take that 2 weeks that they normally would pay you and extract it from the salary and call it a paid vacation. They just allow you to leave this little area in the land of freedom for 2 weeks. That's all it was. Why? Because I've been on both sides, because I was over here thinking, this is great. And I'm not putting you down. This is not about putting you down if you have a job. This is not putting you down if you don't have a big dream. This is about some people out there. There may be 5 people out of the tens of thousands who are watching right now who are sitting there like me saying, there's got to be a better way. I don't like these bars. There's got to be a better way. And I found it at my first event. And they went across the stage, and then the speaker came up, and he talked about what those people did to become free. I was wondering, what did they do? And he talked about how they invested in themselves. He talked about how they didn't take their money and go to the record store. They didn't take their money and go buy more televisions and go buy more stuff. They bought books. They bought tapes. They invested into events. They associated properly. They worked the business. They found mentors. They got away from negative talk and negative association and spreading stupid, useless rumors. The rumor spread group lives here. Over here? No. They're not perfect. These people are not perfect. But they understand that the language that they used to speak over there will bring them right back over here. And I said, I'm going to change. I said, you can count on me. And the speaker said, who's going to come up on stage next year and get your freedom trophy? And I raised my hand. I stood up and said, me? I wanted him to hear me. I wasn't saying it for my sponsor to hear. I wasn't saying it for my cross line to hear. I wasn't saying it for the people who were around me to hear. I was talking to the speaker, and I was way up in the cheap seats. And I felt that he heard me, because I knew he was talking to me. That event, and it was tens of thousands of people, it was for me. And I felt it. Why? I never knew I could be free. I never heard of it. I never seen it. I just thought that there was a more comfortable life living inside the bars. I thought my cell was just going to get larger. And I can add one more bedroom, but I still have a cell, but I've got an extra bedroom. And maybe I've got a 2-story cell. I didn't know I could do what I wanted. I didn't know I could be around the world. And I didn't know I could be free. And so we celebrate freedom. And the biggest celebration of that freedom of people who are taking their first step. And what they're saying is they're right here and they're reaching their hand out. Here's what they're doing. They're right here in the bars, in the lines, and their life has been all about restrictions before, and they're navigating themselves through the system. And they're looking over here and they say, wow, is that Peter Hirsch over there? Oh, is that Karen? Wow. Is that Jose Luis? Is that Martha? Is that Adam? Wow. Wow. Is that Johnny and Crystal? Is that Edwin and Andrea? They're in Cabo? In the weekday? with 3 days notice. They didn't have to call in to check with anybody. All expenses paid. Why do they smile every time I see them? Why didn't they say, well, let me check and see if I can afford to come? I don't know, but it's something about them. I want to be over there with them. And so what happens is we get out there and we reach our hand, we extend our hand, and we say, over here, come on. Come on. Why do you think we're here? I already know some of you, because this is where you've lived so long, here's what you said. I know it. Why is this television or mobile phone event $179? It's because you live here. That was me, thinking it was $179. I thought I paid for a TV show back then. No, it's the information. And if you put a price tag on this information that you don't see as valuable, you deserve to stay here. This is where you belong. And as long as you're okay with it, I won't complain either. But I see you over here. And maybe you don't want all the money. That's why we've got Peter Hirsch, who's leading up our chief giving officer. Donate it. All of that money, blah, blah, blah. Okay, don't worry about it. Just donate it. We've got a place for your money. We just don't have a place for your excuses. We don't have a chief. I'm not the chief excuse officer. I am the CEO. I'm the chief executive officer. And so I saw him and I start reading my books and I start listening to tapes and I start changing my habits. I turn television off. I stop playing golf, sneaking on the cheap golf courses because I couldn't even afford green fees. And I said, I'll give up this golf today and I'll have a country club membership tomorrow. I'll give up this television in my little small apartment today, and then I'll have homes all around that have television in every room. And I start making these small little investments. I don't call them sacrifices. They were investments into my future. Books, tapes, events. And I'll never forget making a decision, and she was right there alongside the way, not complaining, not worrying about things when we didn't have enough money. Hey, listen, go to Walgreens. I need you to go get a kit and do whatever you got to do it yourself. No complaints. No complaints. So this is why over here, she can do whatever she wants to do. Why? No complaints. And we went to work. And I got that small taste of freedom. And I start speaking a little bit differently. And as I spoke a little bit differently, people around me over here, they were saying something's different about you. What's wrong with you? You're coming over here talking about freedom? Freedom? Who's brainwashed you? And they felt uncomfortable around me. And I went back to another event again, and I saw new people go across the stage, and I'm sitting there like, wow, this really works. What he's talking about was different. And he said the exact same thing that I heard the first time, but I didn't agree with him when I was so infatuated with the vocabulary of the people on this side. And when I start over here, associating over here, I'm like, he makes some sense. He must have changed. He's changed. No, I was changing. My wings were starting to grow. See, over here, they put me in this suit, this chicken suit. and they clipped my wings, and basically they had my wings tied behind my back because they knew that if I knew I had wings, I would choose not to be here. Nobody can give you wings. The government can't give you wings. Your sponsor can't give you wings. You got to grow them. You got to use them. You already have them. You're born with the wings already. And every time I come over here with these people, I go look in the mirror and my wings will get a little bit longer. And I see in the mirror, and I'm like, oh, I walk around the house, but I feel like I'm floating. Come back over here and tell them about my experience. I say, you see, look up there. You see those eagles up there? Hey, you don't want to be over there. What? It's security over here. Look, we can't fall. Look, our food is so close to the ground, we can pick it up like that. The chicken coop. We can grab everything that we want right here. I look up and say, but what about the eagle? Look, I went to the convention and they taught me we can fly. They taught you can fly? You are a chicken. Chickens don't fly. We flock. No, listen, you're not a chicken. And I whisper into his ear, come to this meeting. It's an eagle meeting. And they come to the meeting sometimes. And they look at me and they, dude, do you know this is a scam? They make money telling chickens that they're really eagles. And I sit there and like, no, they're really eagles. Oh, you must be in one of those things. And they tell me what I couldn't do. And I come back over here, talk to my upline and my sponsor associate a little bit more, and guess what? I come and I feel a little bit stronger, and then I come back over here and I didn't have as many people hanging around. And I didn't feel good over here anymore. Why? Because they've been saying the same thing for the last 10 years. Same conversation. Over and over and over. Same conversation. So I go back over here, I feel better. I feel emboldened, I feel empowered. I feel 10 feet tall over here. And so I start investing more of my time over here and less of my time over here. And the next thing you know, I'm walking across that stage years later. I'd earned my freedom card. And I got my wings spread. But I still love my friends who are over here. I don't love them because of their profession. I don't love them because of how much they make or how much they don't make. They are my friends. And I come back over here for some of them, and they say, we knew you'd always fly. You were made for this. You went to Eagle School at the right time. Because over here, they are CEOs, chief excuse officers, and they make excuses for people over here. Why? Because it makes them feel comfortable about their decision to stay right here. But if they knew someone who's just like them, went off and became an eagle, and they knew better, they know that they are now forced with the responsibility to do better, and that's why they tell you, you can't make it, you won't make it. My group of Project 72 people that I'm working with right now, they're eagles. You're going to see testimonials come across, and many of them never thought that they can do the things that they've been doing, and they are breaking records like crazy, and I chose each one of them on purpose. But you're an eagle too. If you're sitting here and you're watching, if you're laying in bed, if you're driving, if you're at work right now, and you just have it in your ears, and if you're even listening and you don't understand my language, I know you can feel what I'm talking about. But sapphires, it's that first step towards freedom. And that's why we celebrate them. Here's what I want you to do while we celebrate sapphires. Virtual event doesn't change. I'm going to do my part. You got to do your part. We're going to recognize our sapphires.